And welcome back to the Nose Plays Thea to the Shattering with the Wrath of the Sea DLC. It was added free last year, I think. The game is no longer under development, from what I understand. They're not going to add any more DLC. The last of the DLC has been added. There is a modding community. I know precious little about it, but there are some interesting tools for this game, if you're unfamiliar, where you can go in and edit a great deal of the game. And I know there are quite a few groups that have done so and made some pretty interesting content, so it's something you can check out if you start to get bored of the core game experience. I have not even come close to touching the tip of the core game experience. So we're going to continue the playthrough that I started the other night. I had about 30 views in 24 hours, which is roughly 10%. If you just do the math, 10% of my viewership actually took the time to watch some portion of that video. So I figured we'd go ahead and do a little bit more of that playthrough in case anybody had any questions or wanted to see where I was going to progress to next. I'll admit that the beginning of that game was a little bit slow and boring. We did a lot of gathering because, you know, summertime, gather XP. If I was really trying to min-max, one of the things that I would have done differently in that playthrough is I probably would have set myself up in a position where I could gather more things per turn, like more sites next to me, and spent more time with my characters on gathering and not on some of the other things, like crafting the tools. Probably could have waited to do all the crafting until the next season, which is when you get a bonus to crafting. So there is sort of a flow to this game that is dictated by the seasons, and you don't really have to follow what the seasons suggest you do, but it does benefit you most of the time if you do. So for example, summertime is all about gathering. The more you gather, the more XP your characters get. The fall season is about crafting. Everything that you do that requires crafting is done a little bit more quickly, so you're more efficient at it. And you don't have to spend as much time doing it. Or you can get more of it done. Wintertime, I believe, is bonus XP for events. And then spring, I think, is all about recovery and healing. So it's a good time to do a lot of combat, small skirmishes, because you heal really quickly, even if you take a little bit of damage. This is what we ended up starting with. I still don't know how to pronounce this, so Dzievanna, I'm going to just say it's a silent D until I'm told otherwise. We're going to be the Chosen of Dzievanna. We have animal senses as our primary skill. Animals, elves, forest demons, you control get +1 to all of their main attributes. Crafting attribute is decreased by 10%, but gathering is increased by 10%. So flat bonuses are actually going to benefit us quite a bit, especially as they get larger. We'll get a free 10% bonus to it. One thing I don't know is I don't know how that bonus interacts with a multiplicative bonus. It may just stack on top of it. So, for example, if I get an item that gives me 20% extra gathering, I might just get 30%. But it might actually interact in a different way, additively versus multiplicatively. The math is a little different. Either way, it's kind of irrelevant. It's a small amount, but we get it for free. We chose to start with a hunter, an elf child, and a human gatherer, as well as a rat with a pet crow. I still have not figured out why we ended up with 2 gatherers and a craftsman. I'm not sure if like extra characters are just something you innately start with at at some of the difficulties. I don't remember that being a thing. Or if we, maybe there's a random roll for that, but for whatever reason we have quite a few characters at the beginning here, which is interesting. I wasn't expecting that. This was going to be a much different playthrough, or at least I was expecting it to be. The other thing is that our elf child grew up and we didn't really get anything cool, so she's just like another gatherer, which kind of sucks. We're a really good gathering clan. So because of that, We looked at scouting out a new home, and if I click on, is it this one? What am I doing wrong here? There we go. That's what I want to see. If I click on this toggle resource button, you can see that we've uncovered an area of the map that's pretty rich in resources. We have gold, malachite, granite, clay, and quartz. We have dryad wood, we have food, and we also have a coal deposit nearby. And this is particularly interesting because you can use coal deposits to upgrade resources. So because of this, we basically have access to every resource except for bone, I believe, at a tier 2 level. So I have tier 2 wood, tier 2 metal, tier 2 stone, two different types of stone actually, which means that we can upgrade all of those materials up to tier 3 and even to tier 4 potentially using coal. So we have a lot of potential in this starting location. Some of the things we don't know where the Lightbringer camp is, which can be a problem. And we also don't know where some of the other stuff is. So we really want to try and expand a little bit before we lay down a settlement here. But if we were able to get a settlement here quickly that was made with, say, at least ancient wood, which I think would be the easiest thing to do, we could get it 3-tile gather distance, which means I could go like 1, 2, 3. So if I built my village here, I can go 1, 2, 3, get the fish. I could get the vegetables. I could get the malachite. I could get the coal. Like we could gather basically everything in this region, which is a lot. And we could really pump out malachite and gold since we have 2 of those. We actually would have like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 slots for gathering, which would be interesting. We could do some interesting things with that. And so, because we have so many gatherers, I'm kind of thinking that's not the worst decision that we could make with this group. But, yeah, it's hard to say exactly what we're going to do here. The one thing that we're going to do for sure is make sure as we approach wintertime that our food supply is adequate and our fuel supply is adequate. Having enough firewood and enough fuel and food for the winter is important. Food becomes important because gathering becomes more difficult in the wintertime, so getting food can be a little harder. And you don't want to spend a lot of time doing it because it's just really inefficient. The second thing is that you burn a lot more wood. Hey, looky there, we got our first viewer today throwing in a comment. Peter, how's it going, man? Glad that you are getting some time to sit down and relax. And I'm excited to see where this goes as well. I really kind of missed this game after, I don't know, a month or 2 of being away from it. So I wanted to get back into it. So we're going to try to maybe get our village down a little sooner than we did in the last game. I think we were like approaching turn 120 or something before I laid down my village in that game. And then, of course, my stream promptly ended because of my hardware issues. But fingers crossed that won't be the case this time. So let's go ahead and take a peeky peek at what we got going on here. So for some reason we're not making steaks. I think I put that on hold because we were going to cook something with them. So I can cook some sweet rolls or some vegetable stew. It takes 3 of these. I could get this done twice. I can only make this once. So let's go ahead and make this a couple of times and get some more of these. That'll be good for our food quantities. And I think we got that meat from the animals that attacked our camp during the nighttime. It's now daytime again, so we shouldn't be harassed by too many things. Let me just run through... Go back. What is everybody doing at the moment? So most people are gathering, and she's cooking. We were considering making an idol. I saved that over here for now. Let's just take a moment to see if there's any crafting tools that we could create that would be worthwhile. With the gold nearby, I do have metal. And then we found some mithril for one of our quests. So let's say that we farmed up a bunch of gold. We could do something like gold and mithril. That would make a pretty good crafting tool for our one craftsman. We could get 145%, which is pretty solid, percent base, which would be the better choice. If we went gold and gold, it's going to be a little less effective. And I don't have a lot of ways to get mithril, but we could try and use coal to make mithril and get up to 152%. The Inventor's Aid is also interesting because it also increases research and sanity regeneration. But it's not quite as good as a crafting tool. Still. So I think we're going to probably try to craft this next. I think that's probably the next thing on the agenda. I don't really think there's anything else that we know how to craft. Building-wise, we could also do a raft. A raft won't be very useful to us until we're ready to move off of the island to somewhere else. Maybe one of the other islands, and we're definitely not there yet. That being said, what do I have? So like dryad wood and dryad wood. I mean, that's not a terrible raft. Carry limit is only 29,000, but what if we had a little bit more of this? Would it increase much? We would get an extra movement point and actually a pretty reasonable amount of and then what if we did, let's say we did like ancient wood. That's a pretty good raft actually. That's almost as good as one of the ships, the early ships that I built. I think it was a sailboat. Yeah, interesting. Okay. We're not going to be doing that anytime soon. What I am going to be doing is double checking what everybody's gathering. So now that we're into the season where crafting is a more efficient thing, we should be looking to craft as much as we can. But in order to craft, what we really need to do is gather the right materials. All of these folks are going to be finished in one turn on their gather, so we're going to gather for one more turn just to finish them off. And then I wanted to check my research. Do we have anybody working on research? Yeah, nobody's even working on research right now, so we're good to move. So we'll do one more turn of gathering, and then we're going to move. And I have 1 point to spend. I'm probably going to spend it on gold, and we're going to try to gather a bunch of gold. We'll also gather some more malachite, and if I can do it, I want to position myself in a spot where I can also get dryad wood, because I really want to have a nice stockpile of wood before the winter time. We might also send our hunter this direction. We need to scout this, and because of that, we'll probably take a couple of our characters and send them that way. Not everybody, but just a scouting party, while the rest of the gatherers do their gather thing. So, end the turn, let's get moving. 15 minutes in, I haven't even done anything yet. But that's okay. If you watch my channel, you know the pace that I move at. Okay, so we did our 1 turn of gathering here. We should be good to go ahead and break camp. Getting some lag there. That was weird. And we're gonna move these guys. Yeah, this is probably the best spot to get dryad wood too. I don't really care for any of these other resources. We're definitely good on food for a while. So yeah, we'll move right there for now and set up camp again. Actually, I want to get out of this menu and we want to go here. And we're going to go ahead and pick up gold. That's going to give us some gold, which is nice. It's also going to allow us to farm gold. So now if I go to gathering, I have a gold deposit that I can gather from. And you'll notice that our chosen, her stats are really good. We are definitely going to put that to use. I'm curious. It's interesting to me that malachite is more difficult to farm than gold. And I don't understand why that would be. Huh. Either way, I think I'm going to put her on the gold. We're going to put him on malachite, or maybe both of them on malachite, and then do I want to put any of these guys, or do I want to just take all of them with me? Maybe I do something like this. That's not bad. What if I do it like that? That might be a little bit better. Okay, so we'll let these guys gather for quite a few turns. We're just going to let them gather. And we're going to send the hunter and the rat on a little expedition. So that's... I need to get back to equipment. Is it equipment? No, it's inventory. This is where I need to be. And then we're going to take our hunter and our rat. And we got to take some food. There's a button for food. Where's it at? Oh, here we go. Transfer food. How many turns worth of food do I want to transfer? So I can transfer 10 turns worth of food, or 50% of all available food, or I can decrease this number. Let's do like 20% of all available food. That should be good. That's a good supply of food. These guys still have plenty of food. Yeah. And then we're going to have to transfer some wood. So let's go to the wood. We can transfer... We'll just take all of this wood. They're going to be collecting dryad wood every couple turns, so that'll be fine. 14 turns worth of wood. And if we need to pick up some more, we can. We're not going to be camping a lot, so we only need the wood when we make a camp with this group. This group is primarily going to be scouting, so they don't really need a lot of wood. So that should be good. And then I do want to go to equipment and just verify. How do I get to Expedition 2? Expedition 2. Inventory. Here we go. Is there anything that I want to equip on these guys? I guess I could equip something on the rats. I think we'll just go. They're not going to be able to move, are they? Oh, they do. They have enough movement to move one. Go ahead and move them off. They don't need to be right there. And we're going to go scout out this point of interest and then maybe this point of interest. Try to get some eyes on this area of the map and see if we can't figure out if there's even better spot to set up a village than this. This is an okay spot. I wouldn't say this is like as good as the spot we found in the last game, but it's pretty solid. Alright, let's get to moving. So it looks like we can get all the way over there. So let's go ahead and do that. Ooh, that's good.
You come to a small village, and despite the calm weather outside, you see storm clouds hanging over this settlement, and lightning dancing threateningly around the palisade.
Okay, so we've already seen this before. We'll skip the story.
I don't know. We listened to a chosen one once before.
Okay, so this is interesting that we're being allowed to use our entire party. I'm going to auto-resolve this.
Your logic is sound, Chosen.
But
you
I want to
fail the gods again.
I want to check something once we get done with this. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles away from our camp. I'm not sure. So there's somewhere in here where you can use summary. It's not going to be in here. There's something in the game where you can change the number of tiles that other party members can support you in a fight. I'm under the impression, based on what we just saw, that because this is part of the main quest line, it allowed us to use our entire group even though they weren't all present, which is interesting and good to know. If we encounter this in the future, we might be able to exploit that again. Okay. Do we have any more movement left? I don't. And there's no real reason to camp unless we wanted to gather coal and seaweed. And I only have one character. Domingo, how's it going, buddy? Hey, if you have not tried this game out, but you like 4X strategy games, it's definitely worth a look. I have a couple long plays going on my channel that you can check out. SB has some amazing content. If you've never checked out his YouTube channel, you should. But he has some really good content on this game. And it's just a really fun game. I really like the crafting system. Yeah, definitely. If it's on sale, you should pick it up for sure. And it regularly goes on sale. I think I got it on sale for like $15, $12. It's totally worth my money. So I would highly recommend it, especially if you like this kind of game, and I really do. The crafting is my favorite part of it for sure, though. And we'll definitely spend some time with the crafting system. It's a little complex, but not too bad. All right, let's go back and check on our gatherers real quick. We're Expedition 1. There we go. So yeah, they're just coming along. Be getting that as quickly as they can. I don't think there's much that we need to do for a few turns here. It's mostly going to be about moving this guy around. Okay, elves are notoriously elitist in their choice of mates, but it seems a person of beauty has caught one's eye. Elven children are born out of a mystical bond, and it seems 2 of your folk have enjoyed such a connection. The effects of such a union can vary, but a child soon arrives. So, our chosen elven child, who's all grown up, has grown attached to one of our gatherers, and that means that we now have a baby elf. Maybe we'll have better luck with this one than we did with the first one. I would much rather not have another gatherer, but maybe that's what we are. Maybe we're just like the super gathering clan. Let's take a better look at our elf child, probably the equipment. Okay, so what do we got here? Elven child, she's got higher stats in perception, wisdom, and intelligence, and also in destiny. Interesting. Okay. We need to put you to work, little Nayel. So let's find something for you to do. How about... is there anything at all that you would like to cook for us? It looks like we could cook some of this good stuff. That'll only take you 2 turns to do. That'll be worth our time. Alright, we got 11 gold. Crying Suns is pretty cool. I might revisit that one on the channel at some point. I kind of set it down for a while, but I really, really like it, and I think it'll be a really fun game to play out. I didn't get a lot of interest at first on my channel, so like there weren't a lot of people watching my video that I made, and that's fine. It's kind of an indie game, and it's not going to be for everyone, but it does look really fun. The artwork of that game is amazing. I've never seen pixel art that looks so amazing in my life. Some of the explosions and stuff that happened in that game is just crazy how cool that one looks. But yeah, that one might be one that I do more on the channel too at some point. Definitely something people should check out. If you haven't checked out Splattercat Gaming, he has a really good channel where he just takes like 30 minutes and looks at all kinds of indie games. Really, really cool, you know, shallow dives into indie games and lets you check them out. And that's where I found that one, was on his channel. Looked cool. Just happened to be bored at work one day and watched that video. And I was like, oh man, I gotta pick this up. So hopefully I did the same for some other people. Alright, back to our group, and we have movement back so we can get around here. I could talk to this village. As I recall, we can't interact with them too much until we deal with the chosen character that they sort of kicked out of their village or whatever, or that left their village. So we have to find this guy. Also, there's a quest marker over here, so I think what we're going to do is head over this way. That's kind of unfortunate. I was expecting more. Let's go ahead and move here. This is probably okay for us to set up camp. We can grab some meat. Meat is something that we actually can benefit from because we don't have any. And so, 2 turns, I don't know. I was hoping we'd be able to do it in 1 turn. We're just not quite good enough at gathering. Should have maybe put a gathering tool on the rat. With only 23 gathering, he's pretty bad at it. I don't think we're going to wait 2 turns, so I'm actually going to break camp. I don't think we actually consume wood for making camp unless we hit the end turn button. So yeah, we're not going to camp. We don't want to spend our wood. I didn't mean to click that. I meant to click it like that. So yeah, down another turn. Okay, so this is part of that quest line that we did. These things are just going to pop up from time to time. They're not really related to what you're doing on the map in some cases. You track down this big Niv, the heretic chosen who angered the gods. He spots you and speaks out. Oh, a dude chosen. Come to smite me, have you? Yeah, that's...
You're honest. Good. Let me tell you though, your puny gods can suck it. I've had enough.
Okay. So, I'm not exactly sure how we want to handle this. I've done it a couple of different ways now. They don't really seem to have a big impact on what happens. Let's tell him, let's stand up for the gods. We are an elf, after all.
Get off your mighty horse. You want to know how a chosen ends up here? I stopped. I was fed up with doing their dirty work. I lived my life. And then when light came knocking, I answered. Because I like their side better.
Okay. So, our god is the god of harmony and nature. I think I've done this one before because last time we chose this one because it was the harmony, whatever path we were on with Streebog. I kind of want to just click this one and see what happens.
Zbigniew was surprisingly weak, so you kill him without trouble. Theodore appears. Well, that was always my #1 choice, but was it really what your god wanted? A question to ponder. Now, I leave you to your own devices, and the gods will surely call upon your services again. But for now, please stay alive.
Oh, that was interesting. So I think this was one of those situations where we didn't actually pick the one that was related to one of our starting, whatever you want to call them. I don't know how that's going to affect us, though. I don't know that it really does. Our reward is approximately the same every time I've done this, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's just part of the story and advancing the basic plot of the game. I don't know. Kind of feels repetitive and uninteresting if that's the case. But yeah, our traits. That's what I was talking about. Nature and harmony. So there's probably one of those traits that nature and harmony most matches with, which is probably the last one. I can definitely see some of the gods that are more aggressive getting a different response if you pick that. But I just wanted to see what would happen. So let's go ahead and let's see. Can Expedition 2 move again? Yes, we've got plenty of movement. Let's go scout this. What do we got over here? More coal. Interesting. Okay, we come across the ruin of a town. I thought we already did this one. One of the things that I don't like about this game is that you do tend to get a lot of the same quests pop up from time to time, and where the game is sort of kind of like a little bit of a roguelite, where you replay the early part of the game over and over and over again, it does get a little repetitive. I have seen in situations where, and they have done some bug fixes to fix this, but there have been situations where I've gotten like the same quest in the same playthrough quite a few times, and like relatively close to one another, like not even 100 turns apart or anything. So since we're a hunter, we're going to take the hunter perception and we'll follow the tracks, defend ourselves against this, and once again our entire group is part of this challenge. I'm going to have to take a look at what the starting settings are for a normal, but we're pretty far away. I don't know why we're able to have everybody participate. That seems awful interesting. We did get a few resources, and then we got a spiritual blessing, which is good. We did take a little bit of damage, which is not good, but there's not a lot I can do about that. One of the things that I do have to be mindful of is because of the wind, the characters who are not encamped are losing points. Now, I think if you're camped, you don't, but it might just be in a village. So let's look. Let's go to equipment. So it looks like everybody's losing a little bit. That might have been from the fight, though. Hard to say. Um, this guy up here and the rat, if we check out their equipment, we can see that they're losing stats. And if these stats get too low, it can become a problem. But I'm not super concerned about it right now. Finding another coal deposit's interesting. Do I have any movement left? I do. Yeah, let's go ahead and move up. Okay, there's a bee's nest. We could take care of that. That'd be good. Hunters are really good at dealing with beasts. Nature-y things. That's why I wanted one. They're one of the best early game classes. We're getting some wood. We're getting some gold. We're getting some malachite. We're going to be able to make some good stuff here soon. And we're going to be making some food here soon. Our newest chef. We need to do some crafting before the end of this season. We've got 31 turns though, so I've got a little bit more time to gather before we really need to get anything crafted. But not too much. Do I want to move back here and try to gather berries for a turn? I think we'll just stay here. That's probably fine. Alright, let's clear this bee's nest. Let me see if I can find out exactly what looks like it's in this tile. Clear the nest. Auto-resolve. Acceptable outcome. We got some beetle jelly and a little bit of damage on our chosen, but nothing too much to be concerned about. We also got another point of research, which is good. So we want to maybe consider grabbing something else at some point here. Probably going to be one of the stones. Quartz is nice because it's lighter. Granite has higher essence built into it, but it also has a lower chance of making good equipment. The ones that we're missing currently are, we don't have access to leather or bone. So I have malachite, dryad wood, quartz, granite, gold. Finding leather and bone would be nice. Also, regular wood is up here. Not. The wheat is nice. We could use that. So there's quite a few different food resources out here. Also, this village is on Shadowbone. I didn't notice that earlier, but I did just happen to see it out of the corner of my eye right now. That does give us a tier 2 bone resource. And from this tile, we could actually gather. That's 3 squares away. I think we're far enough north. I kind of want to swing around this way and uncover what's over here, and then maybe make our way back to our group. And that might be a good time to start doing some crafting. Maybe get some new tools, some new weapons. Weapons would be good. I don't really have any weapons. Let's go ahead and move one more tile. Yeah, that didn't really help. I guess I should have moved here. One thing I noticed about this game that's not immediately obvious is there actually is elevation, and elevation does affect line of sight. So do trees, so being in the forest cuts down your vision, but being on top of a mountain actually increases your vision radius. So if we move up on this hill, we should be able to see quite a bit further around, although it does reduce our movement. And I probably want to start doing some serious crafting with about 20 turns left. Yeah. So see, now that we're on top of this mountain, we have a much better view of what's around us. Low on fuel. Who is low on fuel? Expedition 1. Ah. That is not what I want to be doing. We've been burning our coal for fuel the last few turns because I forgot to uncheck dryad wood. I had prevented us from using dryad wood, but when I moved all of our regular wood off, they immediately started burning up our coal, which sucks. That's unfortunate. We'll get some more coal, though. I'm not too worried about it. Also, I don't want to be using up my jelly or that, because we can make stuff out of these and make it into cool food. I have a lot of these, so having these available is probably not a big deal. We can eat up some of that and still have more to make food with. Plus, it's easy to gather. So, let's go to cooking, and let's actually look at some new tasks. So I could make one of these puddings, or we could make 2 of these. Yeah, let's do that. Or we can make 1 of these. Well, let's confirm that design for 1, and then we'll make that a favorite. And then I can design the other version. Well, we can design the pudding too. Pudding. Confirm. And then the other design for this would be, I guess we only have the 1 vegetable, huh? We don't have seaweed yet, so we can't make the other one. I guess mushrooms and jelly make something different. Okay, and then one of the things you can do over here is only show possible recipes, so it sorts it for you. But all the recipes that we can make, we want to kind of get queued up over here so we have them. And then I can just kick these off. And as we need to, we can make them. So actually, when she finishes this one, let's set this to 1. So if this is set to infinite, she'll just keep making this indefinitely. But you can actually set it to a number, and then these are queued up. So this button will move things up and down in the queue, and this will add or subtract the number that you're going to make. So we're going to make 1 of these. As soon as we finish this 1, she should automatically pop down and start making whatever's next in the queue. And we can make this twice, so I can just put this on here 2. And that's all we can do. And then once she's finished with that, she'll either move on to the next thing, or she'll just jump out of being in the cooking queue altogether. Just one of those little things that's nice. Get set up there. What else do we want to do? I can't recall. Expedition 2's already done all their moving. Expedition 1 is just going to keep gathering. Yeah, that's probably good. As you cross the plains, you spot a busy beehive full of honey and nectar. It could be very nutritious, perhaps even cure some wounds. So we can attack the hive, or we can just use our hunter and gatherers. You know how to smoke out these stingers, so you can loot the hive. A lot of times, some of these have lower risks but lower rewards. Since we did take a hunter, I think we're going to go ahead and go with that. Let's see what happens here. It says you set the trap and light the fires to create smoke. Now you just need to figure out the right wind direction and time to spring your trap. Set the trap or change our minds. Let's go ahead and set the trap. Auto resolve. Accept the outcome. We got some amber. That's interesting. Gems are always nice. Drink the honey. And we got a physical blessing on the rat. Also some more research points and some experience points. These are really important in the early game because they unlock all kinds of cool stuff for you to do up here. And so now that we have some of this, I'm seriously considering moving into tools and seeing if we can't craft something. We're going to wait just a few more turns before we make any decisions on that. But one of the things that I want to point out, this tree right here is interesting. So bows, for example. Most of these can be made from 4 materials. The first point that you put into it gives you 2 of the materials that you can use. And then as you put more points into it, you unlock the other materials that become available to build. But one of the things that's interesting, and one of the things I like about the crafting system that makes it a little unique, is that these things are always the same 4 things. So there's that predictability factor, but they don't unlock in the same order every game. So one game, you might start with, say, gems and metal, like we did, but in another game, if I start, I might have wood and bone as my first 2. And gems would be tier 2, and metal would be tier 3. So these shift around from gameplay to gameplay, which is interesting. So here's the 4 primary resources and the 4 secondary resources. Again, these never change in type. They're always going to be these 4 things, but not in this order. So the order in which you build things differs from gameplay to gameplay. So one game, it might be really beneficial to start with, say, gems and bone, and in another game, it might be more like steel and steel, or metal, wood metal, different combinations. And every single item in this tree is like that. So they all have their set 4 things, but they shift around a little bit from gameplay to gameplay. So based on what we can collect right now, we'll determine actually what the best tools that we can actually build right now are. The big things that we're able to grab right now are gems and metal. So looking at this, I got gems, but I don't have metal for a secondary. I do have dryad wood, so gems and dryad wood wouldn't be bad, or gold and dryad wood wouldn't be bad. So I could actually make a pretty decent bow from tier 2 resources. And then we also have wands and javelins. Javelins, gold and gold. We can make some good javelins. And then as for the wands, so we got wood and stone. So I'm thinking maybe ranged weapons are where we're at. We have a lot of gatherers with high perception. Ranged weapons are good with perception, so that's probably what we're going to look at. Okay. So see, she automatically jumped down to this. She's going to start making those. And then as for my gatherers, click on the right box. They're just going to continue to crank out this. What is my inventory starting to look like here? So we've been gathering for a little while now. I got 72 dryad wood. Definitely need to do something with that. I've got 20 malachite. We're not gathering that particularly fast, unfortunately. And then we got 43 metal. Or sorry, specifically gold. So yeah, not bad. I really do want to get some coal here soon. Alright, let's check out Expedition 2. Expedition 2 has all 6 points of movement, so let's get that move on. I think we'd probably just march down to this tile. I guess I could march over here. Yeah. Ooh. Topaz. Okay. I thought maybe I saw something different. These are really good. Topaz are great, actually. So let me show you why I like Topaz so much. I need to click on this group real quick. So if you don't know how this crafting system works and you want a little bit of information, there's all these weird symbols. And the way that every material in this game works is they are presented in tiers. So every material has a tier 1 resource. And tier 1 resources have really small amounts of essence, which I'll talk about in a minute, and various weights based on what the material is. So for example, gems are pretty light, wood is pretty heavy, stone and metal are very heavy, leather's kind of in between, and that's generally the rule. And then there are tier 2 resources. So if you go from amber up to tier 2, you get malachite. Malachite is the generic tier 2 resource. It's very similar to amber. You'll notice that the weight of malachite is slightly lower, and there's more essence in it. It's just better all around. So you get more essence, you get less weight. Good resource. Then you have rubies. Rubies are a little heavier than malachite, but notice they have a lot more essence. And I say a lot more, a little bit more essence. So every ruby will give you a little bit more essence, which makes better stats on your items. The other thing is it's a wild resource. Wild resources tend to have higher essence, but they also have an innate failure rate. So when you craft stuff out of them, a lot of times it goes bad. It's kind of wild. You know, you get kind of like a wild card. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And then you have this resource with this symbol. These are called improved resources. What this does is it gives you about the same amount of essence as a regular tier 2, but it has a marginally better weight. And so improved resources are really, really good if you want lightweight materials, or if you're building materials for characters that have low strength, because they can't carry. Their carry capacity is really low with a low strength, so they need light materials. So one of the things I really like about topaz is if you make tools out of topaz, the tools are very, very light. They still provide reasonably good stats. So a 3.0 on the stats, same as the tools that we made out of malachite, but notice that the weight of this tool is found right here, 13.4 pounds. Very, very, I say pounds, whatever the unit of weight is, 13.4 units of weight, versus the tools that we made earlier, which weigh 26. And that's pretty significant for a child, particularly, who only has maybe like 90 or 80 weight capacity total. So you can actually equip some real tools and gear on children by using improved, very, very lightweight resources. And so I really, really like topaz for children or characters with low strength, because you can make anything that is made out of gems with improved gems, tier 2. And all materials have this same combination. So you start with one tier 1, and it splits into 3 tier 2s. And every tier 2 has a generic tier 2, an improved tier 2, and a wild tier 2. So, for example, here's your leathers. So you got the regular leather, your improved, and then your wild. Same thing with woods. You've got your normal tier 2 wood, regular wood tier 1, normal tier 2, wild wood tier 2, and improved wood tier 2. And then the tree changes a little bit as you go into tier 3, 4, and 5. And I won't get into that right now, because we're way far away from that. But there's a little lesson on the crafting system and why I find it interesting. Okay, I think we moved Expedition 2. Expedition 1's going to keep gathering. We're going to end another turn. And I'm going to swing him around wide and try to uncover some more of the map here. Looks like we've got a random adventure. It says, you come across the ruins of a small human settlement sheltered within a dark grove. There are no remains of bodies, not even as signs of struggle. Instead, it seems as if people simply left their home. Their material belongings, however, show signs of extreme heat and ash. They are welded together in unnatural ways. You also see pretty lights flickering nearby. That's usually a bad thing in this game. Pretty lights are not something you want to approach. The lights are beautiful, enticing. They sing and call to you with their calm warmth. It's a trap! You are about to take another step forward when a man steps into a sight and calls out, "Stop!" Please, these are Svetelko. They seem nice, but they seek to take you, and we cannot feed them anymore. Okay, so we can ask about what these things are, or we can attack them. This is part of the story, I guess. I don't remember this one being part of the main storyline, but we're going to go ahead and skip the story and just attack them. We don't need to know more about them. They're bad. Good enough for me. Alright, so one thing that's really helpful to do if you do plan on actually engaging in combat with these things, you can mouse over them and get a little bit of information on their stats and see how they compare to your parties. So there's only one of these things. It's got 25 hit points in every type of combat scenario, and that compares pretty favorably with us. Our Chosen's pretty tough. Everybody else is right around the same amount of hit points as this thing. The other thing you can do is you can click that to get the details, and this is the screen that's real important to check out from time to time, because it gives you a rundown of the types of attacks that this thing has. And where this becomes important, sometimes you get an option to choose the type of combat that you want to engage in. And if you do, you can choose the combat that they're not particularly good at based on their abilities. So, unfortunately, this thing has a lot of tricolor abilities. So you can see most of his abilities have the 3-color cards. That means you can use those in any of those color combats. But for example, this one can only be used in purple and yellow combat. This one can only be used in red combat. And this one can be used in all 3. So if we wanted to avoid, say, this attack, we would want to choose red combat. If we wanted to avoid this attack, we would choose purple or yellow combat. And in this case, it probably doesn't matter, but in some cases, it absolutely does. And so using that information to your advantage is a real important tool you have at your disposal. This is going to be real easy, perfect victory, but we're going to resolve it manually because I haven't done a manual, and I want a real easy task for my first time back into this combat system. So the combat system is interesting. It took me a long time to get the hang of it, and once I got the hang of it, I never really felt like I was super confident in it, but I could kind of figure out how to play. We'll see how much of it I remember. So one of the main things to understand is the placement on the board is really important because it often dictates your targets, and sometimes you can predict the behavior of the AI, and that can help you set up really good plays. Other times they do some really weird stuff. So he's got one card, and it's the only card he has. He can play this card over and over. Each time he plays it, it costs more action points to play it. So it basically shows that, you know, one person can't do everything in a fight. The more people you have, you know, everybody gets to contribute. He's going to attack, and when he attacks, he's going to attack any target that he wants if he's in a ranged. So he gets to select targets. But if you place cards in these tiles directly in front of his tiles, a lot of times that will dictate that he is forced to attack what's in front of him. And where that becomes beneficial is we have characters that have armor. So for example, this character has armor. She can actually take a couple hits to the face, and it won't really affect her all that much with the armor. So she won't take a lot of damage to her health pool. We also have our Chosen, who has a very small amount of armor, but a very large health pool. And so she could take some damage before she really becomes injured and is in danger of, you know, dying. So we can use her to sort of tank some damage. She also has true damage, which is nice because it penetrates armor, but this character doesn't have any armor, so that's not really that important to me. My Hunter... yeah, I'm not seeing anything real exciting, so I think what we're going to do... let me just run through abilities here. It still does 18 damage, so that's actually a really solid attack. This thing only has 25 health. Ghostly Axe is a ranged ability, so we could use that from the back line. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's use this attack here. And then I have a second ability. We'll use this attack from here. So now, attacks from this to her will have to go through her before they can get to this one. In most cases. There are some attacks that can bypass that, but in general, if a card has a card in front of it, it has to attack that card. And it has to go through front line before it can get to back line. Backline can shoot over your front line, but if there's a card here, I would have to hit that before I could hit this one. Duplicate cards share a health pool. So this card and this card are actually the same card. They have a single health pool of 25. So this card and this card, if they take damage, they both lose damage. So what we could do is this guy can go ahead and use a sneak attack from this card, and this guy will have to attack him at this point, which means he's got enough armor to soak at least one hit. So we're in a good spot there. And then I don't think I want to use either of these guys just yet. I think we're going to wait. And we have one action point left, but it'll actually roll over to our next turn. Which is fine. So the reason that he didn't play a card is the first time you played the card, it cost 1 action point. The second time you played it, it cost 2. The next time he plays it, it's going to cost 3. And that means that he didn't have enough action points at this point to actually cast that. Or he's holding out to do it on the next turn, which is fine. But that means we can play one of these other cards if we really want to. And so I'm going to actually play her card again. And one of the things to pay attention to is over here. These are the timing of the events that are taking place. Each time we drop to the next tier of our turn sequence here, it adds time to the attack. So every attack has a base amount of time that it takes, plus whatever time you add to from when you lay it down. And that can change the order in which combat takes place. And then there are also abilities that can affect that, which is pretty neat, and which is what we're going to try and do next turn, I think. But I think this should be good. So we're going to end our turn and roll our last action point into our last turn, so we'll have 2. Okay, so he sped up time, which is changing the time for all of these cards, which is interesting. But we can do the same thing with his ability. So he, since we have him on the field once, he costs 2 action points to use again. But we could use this ability, which actually increases by 1 second all of the versions of this card. And then it also reduces any damage that they would deal. And we're going to apply it to the first card. So, right here. Confirm. And watch how the time shifted. So now my character is going to attack before this thing does. Unfortunately, it didn't affect the other 2 cards. It only affects the 1 card. But the one thing that it did do, you'll notice, is the damage was 5. It actually brought it down to 3. And since the stats of this card are the same for all copies of it, it actually reduced the damage that all 3 of these cards are going to apply to us. And we don't have any more points, so we can go ahead and end our turn. And now the combat's going to go ahead and resolve. We get first action. And because there's nothing directly in front of this, I guess I have the option of attacking anything on the field. It really doesn't matter because they're all the same card. So anything we do damage to, all of them are going to take that damage. Get a little bit of damage off on the shield. A little bit of damage off on the shield. And then boom. Bring it down to 1. Okay. That's an interesting ability. Awesome. Good. So you know the Lightbringers will attack you with spirit when they initiate the challenge. And you know that we, the Vol, have returned to the land and will from now on teach human boys to walk the path of witchcraft. I must go now. Luck be with you, chosen one. So, in the storyline of this game, magic, or specifically witchcraft, is only practiced by females, and it's the only way to get a witch. However, there are a special class of male humans known as the Vol, or whatever that weird Slavic name was that we saw earlier in the text. I can go back here and find it, I think. No, I can't. It's not on this page. But anyways, they have just recently reintroduced themselves to the world. So they've kind of been in exile and they're back. If we were to read all of that, that's what we would have found out. She took a little bit of damage. We got some pretty worthless amounts of stuff. But this is really important. 3 more research points and more XP for everybody. So that's good.
Shaken in your sleep, you wake to find yourself fallen from a hammock onto dry, brittle soil.
Okay, this is just another one of those random adventures. Yeah.
Direct. Good. You are chosen. You will do as the gods will it. And soon, once you are settled, a mission of great importance will become clear to you.
Okay. Nod and wake up. Free stats. I'm all about the free stats. And it looks like a couple of us leveled up. This is our gatherer. We're not going to focus on getting points in crafting. We'll take the good luck. And then our chosen has some really, really high stats. What stats do we want to keep pumping? Destiny could be one that we definitely bring up higher. She does have the highest Destiny and mysticism of any character at the moment. I think, yeah, let's kind of make her a pseudo caster and go lots and lots of points in Destiny. She already has really, really high really high perception. I could also make her a really strong archer with that high perception stat. You can also right click to view the details of these characters, which will give you all of these cool stats. So she gets the animal senses increase main attributes by 1. What's interesting is it doesn't tell me what her main attributes are, does it? Like, an elven forest gatherer. So the elf has the brush it off ability that we saw trigger a couple of times. Every time she took damage, she healed a little bit, which is interesting. Ghost Sleep Axe works off perception, which is good. Brute Force is off of everything. And then her elf abilities primarily are Destiny. Yeah, Ancestor's Voice is Destiny. Or the yellow, I forget, what is it, Sanity? Faith, sanity, health. I think I am going to go with the destiny and pump that because it applies to her elf ability, which is kind of cool. Maybe we'll get a chance to use it in some purple combat. Okay, nighttime is approaching. We are likely to get attacked if there's any random wandering monsters. But let's go ahead and investigate. Let's stick to the safer areas because I'm not 100% sure whether we're going to continue to get the other characters in combat when we're this far away. It seemed like most of the combats we did, but there was that one we did not. I did get a clay hatchet, which is an interesting weapon. Not one that most of our characters will be using, but better than nothing. Also a nice stockpile of leather. Basic leather is pretty terrible, but it's light. And sometimes you can make light clothing, light armors out of it. This windstorm has been killing us. I'm actually getting a little bit worried about these guys and their sanity. How low are our stats getting? Yeah, we're at about 50%. We are definitely going to have to stop and gather somewhere here soon. I could come back and get that meat, or we could just keep moving out here and maybe grab some topaz. Let's do that. Respect nature's anger and seek shelter as fast as you can. That turned out good for us. Our food is doing fine, but I think we are going to set up camp, and hopefully we stop losing stats. Have to trying to remember. Hiding fuel, food, villagers. There's somewhere that talks about not losing stats to wind if you are camped. And I'm trying to remember where that is. I can't remember if it's if you're camped or if you're in a village. I guess we'll find out. So let's take a look at our stats. So he is specifically at 10 and he is at 5. If we lose any points this turn, we'll know that straight up camping did not help. Now, the one thing that I want to do is maybe grab a point in this so we can gather it. I'm debating whether to do that though, because they're not going to be able to gather topaz in one turn. It's just going to take way too long. And I don't know how many turns I wanted to stay camped. So I think we're going to just end the turn and save my point for now.
You come to a place torn up by tremors. Surrounded by deep chasms in the ground lies a small patch of swamp. Within sits what looks like a very large toad, perched on a water lily leaf. It croaks a sad melody.
So I've done this quest a couple times. There's definitely a right way to do the quest, or a best way, I think. I'm not 100% sure that I can remember exactly the way you do it, but we'll
The
give it a try.
creature turns to you and speaks, his voice surprisingly clear and melodic. Oh, you see me. Oh no, but then, maybe you could. A Chmu I am. I have no name, I think. Not that I can recall. Although now that you mention it, it seems like I should. Have you seen my swamp? I lost it.
Okay.
The earth shook, the holes came, and the swamp was gone. Then everyone left, only me, alone here. And I cannot stomp on dry land, you see. But I know someone who can help. Will you carry me to her?
Okay, so yeah, I've done this quest a couple of times. One of the ways that you do this quest has the most interesting outcome and also the best reward if you remember the sequence of events you're supposed to do. There's really not a bad outcome, there's just better outcomes and better rewards. I'll go ahead and agree to help him.
It isn't far, only there. And because you were so kind, here. I hear my spit is good for healing and other stuff. The toad-like creature croaks and spits a green, smelly ball of goo and hands it to you.
Alright. Got some more research, got some more experience. This happened to trigger only for these guys? Or maybe they were just close enough to leveling up. Hopefully everybody got this experience. Obviously the research goes to our research pool overall. And now we have 2 points, so now I'm a little less leery about spending points on Topaz, but I think we're still going to hold off because we're getting close to 20 turns in the current season, and I want to spend a good portion of that later part of the season crafting. But we need to get the materials to craft with first. Our rat has leveled up. What can our rat do well? Anything? He is pretty mediocre at everything. 2 points of intelligence doesn't seem like a good idea. I've got a red ability. I guess I do have a yellow ability. And I have a Strength of the Swarm NA ability. Actually, Strength of the Swarm's pretty interesting. More rats, more problems. Showing off is intelligence based. And since we already have 1 point in it, we'll probably end up getting more points in it. So maybe it makes sense to... He's an attractive rat. And he's also creepy. That is an interesting combination of attributes. An attractive, creepy rat. Okie dokie. We'll take the 2 points of intelligence, because why not? And then we've got sneak attack, which I really liked. Sneak attack was a pretty cool ability. It did really good damage. We can make it better. So let's do that. We'll definitely level up Hunter's Mark some more too. There are some very critical moments where Hunter's Mark can literally save people's lives. Okay, I did notice that our rat and our... we actually got a hit point here, but also the wind stopped. So I don't know for sure whether we got some back because we're camped, or we got some back because the wind stopped, or both. Either way, we're going to break camp, because I think we have 6 movement again. Yep. And I'm going to move down this way. Probably to there first. I guess let's just move to here first. There we go. Okay, you scour some old ruins for loot and you notice you're not the first to arrive. The other group has not seen you yet. Let's investigate. You took the time to scout, now you're in a better position. Attack, approach the scavengers and offer a deal to search the ruins together. Intimidate them. Are we likely to be able to do anything useful? I have outmaneuver, which is a pretty decent ability. And the rat has showing off, which isn't terrible. Maybe we fight him in yellow. Let's just intimidate them with our ratly personality. Auto-resolve shows victory with injuries. I'll accept that. Injuries to yellow and purple stats are not generally that bad. Yeah, so we just scare them away, basically. My creepy, attractive rat scared them away. What did we find? Ooh, some interesting gear. I like it. What is this one? Bone Artifact. A Destiny-based weapon that also plays off of Wisdom. Pretty garbage stats. Low quality. Made of Tier 1 bone and Tier 1 leather. You can see all of that on the card there. But still a weapon. We also got a boar, which is nice. The summon boar is actually one of the best early game spells that you can put on a character, particularly something like a child or a combat ineffective gatherer, or somebody who's just very bad at combat, because it allows them an ability that actually can soak damage. The main thing that you use the boars, they tank damage. They're like free summons. They'll do a little bit of damage back, but they tend to be mainly there to soak a hit or two from enemies. Sandstone javelins. First strike is really nice with the javelins. It can do just a little bit of damage up front, so we should definitely check out our equipment and see if maybe the javelins are better than what we're using. So if we look at what we have, we currently have a weapon with an attack of 14. It has a time of about 3 seconds. Javelins are quite a bit slower, but one of the things that they do is when you place the card, you automatically do a first strike. So he'll actually do 8 damage the turn that he's played, and then his normal attack for 12 will go off later on. So this javelin's actually quite a bit better than our bow. One downside to javelins is they tend to be made of heavier material like stone, and so they're quite a bit heavier, so if you don't have a high enough strength, it's very hard to carry a javelin. They're also a two-handed weapon, much like a bow, so you can't use a shield with them necessarily. And then the clay hatchet we can't really equip. The bone artifact isn't worth equipping, and the boar would be okay to equip, except I would rather have the extra perception for extra damage on this, so we'll just leave that for now. I did find the Lightbringer camp. It's kind of far away, but not super far away, which is kind of worrisome. It might be safer to move up here and try to build a home up that way, far, far away from the Lightbringers. If we look on the mini-map here, there we go. Ah! Come back. There we go. So, gotta remember how to navigate these. The Lightbringer camp is not far from us, but it is basically over here in this corner of the island that we're on. So if we stay on this end of the island, we should be able to mostly avoid the Lightbringers. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is far enough away to feel safe. This is pretty close. That could be problematic. Alright. You come across a small hamlet that looks run down. As many odd occult signs scattered around. You hear music and cheering from the barn. Clearly they are celebrating. A stocky, bald man who introduces himself as the chief comes to greet you. Ho, guest! Blessed be Lada, you must come and join us, else we both be cursed, eh? Odd occult signs usually is a bad sign, so we're going to politely refuse their hospitality. They accept your refusal with grace, although they are not happy about it. The laws of hospitality are taken very seriously in Slavia. They insist you take food and drink as you depart, which we will gladly take. Very small quantities of a whole bunch of stuff. Depending on which group gets this, it's going to seriously increase the rate at which their morale improves for like 1 or 2 turns. But we're going to very quickly eat through all of this, and then we won't have the massive boost to morale per turn any longer. Also, more research. Another adventure. A child, perhaps 6, stands in your way. As you get closer to him, you see the child is no ordinary human. His skin is silvery, his eyes seem golden, his hair looks like strands of very thin metal, and as he hops around gleefully, you hear the clunking of coins. This sounds like something I should be familiar with. But I'm not, so we're going to ask him who he is. The boy does not answer, only smiles at you and starts to play with a ball. But he remains close to your group and glances at you from time to time as if waiting for something. His golden eyes measure you with the tenacity of a wildcat playing with its prey. You think this may be the fabled Treasure Boy, a minor luck demon who can bring much fortune. But what was the way to get it? There was something about his head or face or body. Pat the boy's head, beat him with the stick so that the coins fall out, or slap the demon boy. This is a very unconventional. I'm trying to search my memory banks for any kind of old story or fable or tale that I can think of, because some of these things are not very obvious, but then they become obvious later on. I don't remember anything that's as absurd as beating somebody with a stick until coins fall out. Let's just pat the boy on the head and see what happens. You pat the treasure boy's head, but he just looks up at you and laughs, then disappears. Alright, well, if we run into Treasure Boy again, we know patting him on the head is not the right response. However, I will take the free experience and research. The more of these things that you do, the faster you will basically become, I don't know, proficient at more gathering and more crafting. So really the early game in Thea 2 is all about just getting out there and adventuring and getting as much experience and research as you can. And the fastest way to do that is to do as many quests as you can. So That's what we're trying to do. I don't really want to go any closer to the Lightbringers. This is worrisome. This terrain artifact would be really nice to uncover, but it's very close to their camp. And so I'm not too keen on being anywhere near them. I do want to see more of what's over this way. Let's go ahead and move just a little bit more this direction, maybe. Alright, well. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we've got clay and another point of interest here. We've got granite. And then we've got seaweed over here with the shadow bone. She is leveled up. She is very strong. But her perception is garbage. What is her primary stat for crafting? Crafting stats are mainly going to be... How does this work again? Secondary attribute affects luck, crafting, and gathering. Primary attribute affects research, crafting, and sanity. Research and rituals. Okay, so destiny, intelligence, and wisdom are the primary stats that we really want to build on a craftsman. Destiny, wisdom, and intelligence. So we have 1 point of intelligence, but that's about it. 2 points of strength, however, is hard to pass up because it does increase significantly your weight carrying capacity. And that means that you can equip heavier and more powerful armor and shields, or bigger, badder weapons. 2 points of strength is really hard to say no to on any character when you get the option. Okay, she hasn't been doing anything for an awful long time because I forgot all about her. And we should definitely put her on a task. One of the nice things is right here it tells us her crafting, her gathering, and her rituals. Rituals, I think, are what we use here, right? Yeah. So it's a little bit higher than, or no, sorry, it's research, which is 29. That's why it's nice, big, bold numbers. You can see it's just going to take forever for her to research anything by herself. So we should definitely just get her gathering. Now, I don't think she's missing out on any XP by not gathering necessarily. But we'll go ahead and put her over there for now and speed that up just a little bit. And we should be about ready to stop gathering and start crafting. And I think one of the first things we want to do is craft a better crafting tool, which we talked about earlier. This is getting very close to a point that I want to end this video to. We're already an hour and a half in. What else could we do, though? Is there anything else real important to do? I do have 2 points of movement. Oh, look at that. I can actually get to this point of interest. Let's go ahead and march these guys over here and do this. So we see some old ruins. This is very similar to the one that we saw earlier. Let's just go ahead and attack. Oh dear. That's interesting. I fought these things before. They're very dangerous, but for whatever reason, we were able to kill this one. It was very weak. Okay. As you scour some old ruins, you notice you're not the first to arrive. The other group does not see you yet, but this may change at any moment we attack it. The Striga runs away. You find remains of its previous victim, but the ruins were clearly looted many times over already. So we've got some bones, we took some damage, and we got the goods. Alright, we are out of movement, and I can definitely make camp, even though I can't really gather anything here. You gotta be in camp mode to heal in many cases. Or maybe that's only in the wintertime. Yeah. I think you actually heal even without being camped, except during the wintertime. Sometimes you'll heal faster when you're camped, but I think that depends on a number of factors. So, do we need to camp? I think maybe not. Maybe we don't need to camp. We don't have enough movement to get back. Okay, let's come over here real quick. Let's take a look at our resource piles. So, I've got 87 wood, 30 malachite, and 54 gold. I think it's time to start crafting. With another child in our midst, I think it's important for us to craft some more tools. So we've got that. We can get another set of tools crafted. And then I really wanted to get a good craftsman tool. The question is, do I want to go with a slightly worse crafting tool but better research so that we can actually get some of this research done a little quicker? And the answer is probably. But if we're gonna do it, maybe we do it more like, what does that look like? So here's what I was talking about before. Whenever you make an item, depending on what your crafting rank is, you're gonna have a chance to make a trash quality item. You also have a slight chance to make like excellent quality item. The trash quality is directly related to how many wild units you're using. So the more wild material you use, the higher that number gets. And so, for example, if instead of using 12, I wanted to only use 8, the number of wild materials is lower, and therefore the trash quality chance is lower. And if I wanted to have a very low trash, let's say I make it with like iron. Well, now, because mithril and iron are not wild materials, there's basically 0 chance of trash. So that's kind of an important thing to know. You can have a really unlucky roll and get a garbage item. So you want to make sure that when you're building something, particularly with rare resources or resources that you don't have a lot of access to, you do so in a way that doesn't give you a really, really bad chance to just make garbage. And that's why I'm kind of hesitant to do this. Because this, while the numbers here are good, this is a 1 in 4 chance of being a lot lower than this. And that basically uses up all of our mithril. So what other options do we have? Well, I could throw malachite in here. That number is not quite as high as it would be with the gold. But because no wild materials are being used, we don't have any real risk of a garbage item. And that might be the better way to go to maximize our mithril. The other option we have is stone. I've got sandstone or clay. I could also farm up some quartz or granite. Granite's going to have the same problem. Quartz is an improved resource. Improved resources also have increased chances of making an item trash, but you can see it's much lower. Improved resources are really, really good and have a very, very small amount of trash quality. And then these resources, as I pointed out, these neutral resources or these generic tier 2 resources, they have no chance of trash, which is nice. I think what we're going to do is maybe go with this route, but that means I'm probably not making that other item, that tool. At least just not yet. Would this be... It'd be slightly better. Slightly better with a very small 1 in 20 chance of being junk. Alright, well, let's get started on it. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And then let's put our best craftsman on it. That's going to take 4 turns. And notice that these numbers popped up, even though originally it showed 0. These numbers are based off of her crafting ability. So because her crafting ability isn't super high, she has a chance of making trash even without using wild materials or improved materials. But she also has a small chance of making a master. And then we can actually add her, and that won't actually improve these numbers. These numbers are always based off of the highest statted character, but it will reduce the time significantly. Unfortunately, that means that we're not going to be gathering as much material, but we can still continue to gather materials with our 2 other gatherers. So let's get to work on this while we're getting the decreased crafting time. Otherwise, this would take even longer to make if it weren't autumn. But for the next 20 or so turns, this is going to be a lot faster to do. And then once we get this made, I can put this tool on her. Her crafting numbers will go up significantly, and she'll be even better at crafting. And we won't have nearly as much. This will go down some for the next thing we make. So let's go ahead and close that out. And then let's check our gatherers. We probably want to move one of these guys around. So the most important things to gather right now are gold and malachite, because we're probably going to be using those. We've got plenty of wood. I don't really need any more wood. But I can put her on this gold gathering, and that will reduce the time it takes to get a little bit more. So that's probably good enough. And now everybody's working. We'll go ahead and end that turn. And this should be about the place where we wrap this video up tonight. Okay, so nighttime just hit. We have some new spawns of rats, bats, and a spider lair. And this group is going to move back towards our camp. I think it's about time to regroup and also talk to this village again. We should be able to trade with them, and then maybe farm some coal, maybe farm some seaweed, and we'll see. We're going to want to do some more cooking. Cooking is considered a crafting chore, and so cooking is actually really efficient right now as well. Yeah, Yeah, we're out of movement, and everybody's busy over here, so one more turn. Turn 50. Nice round number. Alright. So our child leveled up. She has a chance of perception, wit, or wisdom. The last time we tried mysticism and we didn't get it high enough to roll any kind of a better roll for her. I'm thinking if we can get another hunter, that would actually be really helpful. So I'm going to go with the perception and see if we can't get a hunter. Elf hunter. That would be interesting. And then this tool can be placed on her. And this tool is not super duper heavy, but it is pretty heavy because it has metal in the ingredients. The gems actually make it a little bit lighter, which is nice. And then this tool we can throw on her temporarily because she's helping with the crafting. Also, the cat, maybe we put the cat on her just in case. I don't know. Nobody else has high mysticism anyways, so we'll just leave it on her for now. Right? Neither of these guys had high mysticism. 3, 3, 2, 3, 11. 1 is from the cat. Yeah, that's probably fine. We definitely want to start looking at getting armor and a few weapons made. But we could do some trading. These guys... Alright.
Well met, friends. Now that Zbigniew is no longer troubling you or us, we can welcome you properly.
Okay. We took care of that evil chosen character. And so the way that this works is each time you enter the village, it consumes 1 point of movement. And once you've done a task, you can't do it again until your next turn. So for example, we can do any of these things up to 6 times because we have 6 points of movement. But we can only do each one once. So for example, we can visit the tavern and do some drinking or some gambling. Gambling tends to be pretty random, but drinking always, I shouldn't say always, generally has the same outcome, and it is you always get some nut tinnicker from it. Sometimes you'll also get an illness, and other times you'll get some other surprises that tend to happen when you drink too much. But you always get the nut tinnicker, so it's like free food. You should always do this when you have extra movement near a village, because this wears off pretty quickly. And then if we click on them and we look at our movement, we have 1 point less movement than we had before. So now we only have 5 movement. So I can visit this village again.
Well met, friends.
And notice
now that Zbigniew is no longer troubling you or us, we can welcome you properly.
I really hate that that quote pops up every time you visit this village now. So notice that the tavern is no longer an option, but all of the other options are still here. And so we can do each one of these things every time we visit. It consumes 1 point of movement for each one we do. So, we can visit the food trader and get a bunch of food items that we don't already have. Or we could just trade generally, but we actually don't have a lot to trade at the moment. We can get a quest. They'll generally give us some task to go do, usually take care of some monster den or something. That's a great way to get experience, and we should definitely do that. So let's go ahead and ask. We actually do not have a lot of wood, but we do have the ability to kill things. There's always trouble about the place. There's a bunch of vermin nesting nearby. We're small, only setting up. If you help us get rid of them, we'll be thankful. So a vermin nest just spawned. We'll agree to take care of that. And if we zoom out, there should be a new vermin nest somewhere. Oh, here it is. So here's the little yellow quest marker for the vermin nest right there. So if we go do that, we'll get in a fight with some vermin. There's the spider's nest that spawned because of the nighttime event. So we have lots of things to deal with. That's actually not a bad thing because they all seem pretty low level. And we got more movement, so we can do this again.
Well met, friends. Now that Zbigniew is no longer troubling you or us, we can welcome you properly.
Let's visit the kennels or trade. Do I want a pet? I don't think I need a pet spider or boar. We've got a boar that's not even being used yet. Let's just go to the trade menu and let's see what they have. So weapons. Bone sword. Wooden artifact. Some sandstone javelins, identical to the ones that we already have. And then some iron javelins, which are slightly better, but also much heavier. Notice the weight is 156 versus 110. So almost 40% heavier. What I really like to look at are things like food items that are relatively cheap but easy to get quantities that we can cook with. So we could take all of these. Hold on. Yeah, I want all of those and I want all of those. Vegetables we don't care much about. I have tons of vegetables. Fur gathering tools. We actually have better gathering tools right now. Topaz. There's 9 topaz here. 9 is not really enough to do much with, so I'm not super crazy about that. A wooden codex, however. Random blast is a very interesting spell, and we do have a character with relatively high wisdom and intelligence in our elf, so this might actually be an interesting entry-level weapon for her. And the best part about it is, notice it's tricolor for most of the spells. So Mass Lullaby and Random Blast are both tricolor. Ice Spike is red or yellow combat only, and it is based off of intelligence. But yeah, this would actually be a really decent weapon to equip on our elf. So let's see if we actually have enough to make this work. So, things that we don't need. So we've got to get up to 500 value. This item, not particularly interesting. The bow I'd like to keep. The clay hatchet, on the other hand, I'm not really sure who's going to use the clay hatchet. I would say our craftsman is our most likely candidate because of the high strength. And this is a strength-based weapon. So that actually would have a use in the short term, but it's a pretty ineffective weapon. Still. Raw materials. The clay and stone, we can get rid of a lot of this. I don't really have a huge use for these. And then we have lots of iron. We don't really need iron. We have access to gold now. The leather just isn't worth very much. It's better off just being sold. Things that we only have like 1 unit of, we can get rid of. So like this bone. These low-level gems. Let's keep those for now. But these regular bones we can get rid of. And the monster bone I only have 2 of, we can get rid of. And the rest of the stuff I'm willing to keep for now. So that puts us at 860 value. So what could we take from them that would be worth 860? Well, I could take the topaz. Yeah, that's really expensive. We're not going to take the topaz. I could take all the vegetables. That's probably not worth enough. So is there anything over here that I would be willing to keep? Sandstone. The clay. So clay is the tier 2 resource. Sandstone is the tier 1. I know this because the essence value is almost done. So if I pull the clay back and we keep the tier 2, that doesn't actually help us all that much. I only had 2 of these. Never mind. We'll just get rid of those. Yeah, there's just not much here. Is there anything else I'd be willing to get rid of? I guess we could get rid of all of our gems. What does that put us at? That's a lot closer. I don't really need the vegetables. Alright, so we're very close now. So now, what can I drop? Well, we have tons of dryad wood. So we only need right there. 3 dryad wood puts us just right about the same. Confirm. Trade is done, and now we have some more resources to take back to camp to trade with or to craft with. I don't know that we got enough topaz to do anything useful with yet, but it'll just mean we won't have to farm the topaz over there nearly as long. And with that being said, I think let's go ahead and move to here and just get a little bit closer, and then we'll end the turn. And this will be where we'll wrap up the video. So this is where we're going to end the video for today. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm enjoying getting back into Thea 2, and I'm going to try to continue this series a little bit longer. There will probably be a video tomorrow, and then I'm going to be on vacation for a few days and away from my computer. But come next Monday, there might be another video after that if I continue to get good viewership. So if you would like to see more of this kind of content, please let me know in the comment section. Please like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and give me lots of views so that I can continue to be encouraged to do these things, because it does take time out of my day, and it's fun for me to do, but it's a lot more fun when I know other people are benefiting from it. So that being said, you guys have a wonderful evening. This has been TheNosePlays, and I will catch you